Uber told the IRS that I made $54,000 last year, but I know I only had about $32,000 deposited into my account. Using my actual Uber annual tax summary and my two 1099s, I'll explain these numbers and help you prepare for your taxes. I want to thank Rideshare.tax for sponsoring this video. The team at Rideshare.tax are pros. Rideshare.tax does exactly as the domain says. They specialize in making rideshare tax filing a breeze for drivers just like you and me. For just $125, Rideshare.tax will handle your federal taxes. Just click on the link in the description below. And if you use the code LEVI, that's L-E-V-I, you'll get an additional discount of 10% off. Use Rideshare.tax to file your taxes today. That's Rideshare.tax. Now let's jump into the tax forms. My name is Levi, and I've completed more than 8,000 Ubers over the last 4 years here in Syracuse, New York. Before I was an Uber driver, I spent more than 2 decades as an accountant in the Air Force and a couple of other businesses. I even have 2 graduate degrees in business and public administration, both from Syracuse University. I love analyzing numbers, and I love using spreadsheets. I do it so much, I've tracked every single week's worth of data of all of my Uber trips. Before we start talking about the forms, let's understand that both the IRS and Uber make things really confusing. So warning, I'm not an IRS expert, a CPA, and I couldn't even get my numbers to balance to the penny. Even if I used Uber's exact data, the numbers didn't balance. So this is your warning. But for the most part, I feel pretty confident in the forms, confident enough to file my taxes. Okay, so Uber gives us 3 forms to help us file our taxes. First is your Uber annual tax summary for 2023. Next is your 1099K, and you'll also get a 1099 NEC. You can find these forms and more on your account at drivers.uber.com. You only need to submit your 2 1099s to the IRS, but the tax summary, that'll help you report your deductions. Lyft gives you similar forms, and you'll also get 2 1099s. But for this video, because I didn't do enough trips with Lyft last year, I'm only going to talk about Uber's 1099s and tax summary. The first thing you'll notice about your tax summary is what Uber says is your gross payment will not be what was deposited into your bank account. But before we get into that, let me explain 2 other things on this form. First, Uber will tell you how many trips you completed last year. Second, Uber will tell you how many online miles they recorded. Important, these miles may not necessarily be the miles that you tracked on your own app or however you track your miles. In fact, I tracked more than 30,000 miles just using my odometer for my tax deductions. The trips and online miles is nice to know, but these numbers won't be a part of my personal tax filings. Uber says my gross payment was $54,000, but I know I earned closer to $32,000. That's what was deposited into my bank account at least. So going in reverse, while it doesn't match exactly what I tracked, the net payout of $32,357.40 is what I feel I earned. However, Uber reported to the IRS that I had payments totaling $54,391.48. The best I can tell, this is what the passengers paid Uber and what Uber paid me for bonuses. And let's be honest, this is all absurd because I didn't account for any of those payments from the passengers to Uber. But it is what it is. The $54,000 is broken up into 2 numbers, $43,820.26 and $10,571.22. The $10,000 includes my tips, quests, and other promotions from Uber. The $43,000 includes the fares that passengers paid Uber minus any of their promotions that they got. If you add the $43,000 to the $10,000, you'll get the $54,000 that Uber is reporting to the IRS. And these numbers are reported separately in the 1099K and the 1099 NEC. The 1099K is what Uber is telling the IRS your passengers paid for the fare. And the 1099 NEC is what Uber is telling the IRS your passengers paid you in tips, plus what Uber paid you in promotions and bonuses. I can only assume there are two forms because of the way the transactions work. What I mean is, when a passenger pays for an Uber, that's the first transaction. And when a passenger tips you, it's after they've already paid for the trip, i.e. transaction number 2. This is the same for the promotions. When we earn tips and promotions after the initial fare, it's a different transaction. Thus, we're going to get two 1099s. Like I said, it doesn't make any sense, but this is the IRS and Uber that we're talking about here. However, this is extremely important. Uber is telling the IRS we earned what in reality the passengers paid Uber. It's important what you report in your taxes matches what Uber reports to the IRS. What the 1099s say is the correct exact number to report to the IRS for your taxes. The difference between what Uber said I made and what I actually made is the middle number, $22,034.08. This is also very important. The $22,000 are taxes and fees that Uber paid on my behalf. These are going to be my tax deductions. These deductions include Uber service fees, adjustments, booking fees, taxes, airport fees, and other expenses. You'll find all of these items in Table 1 on the second page of the annual summary. You should itemize each of these deductions to include your deductions when you prepare your own taxes. For example, Uber says I made $55,000 on the two 1099s. I'll itemize and deduct Uber's $22,000. Then I'll continue with my deductions, which includes my miles, cell phone, and so many other deductions. Ultimately, my taxable income will be much lower than the $32,000 that's reported to the IRS. Again, for this video, I'm not going to go into my actual taxes. I'm not a tax expert. However, you know who is a tax expert? Rideshare.tax, the sponsors of this video. Contact them today to file your taxes. Use the link in the description and use the code Levi for 10% off. I trust Rideshare.tax. So hopefully all of this makes sense. Honestly, even as a numbers guy, I found this all very confusing. Worse, no matter how hard I tried, I just couldn't get the numbers to balance. That being said, I'm confident I'm able to use these forms for my taxes. So what do you think? Do your numbers balance to the penny? Did you even check these forms? What kind of questions do you have? Go ahead and make some comments in the video and let's talk about it. I created Tip You in the app for drivers just like you and me. I want to build a community of drivers that want to earn as much money as possible that are also safe, healthy, and happy. Please like and subscribe, be safe, and know that I'm cheering for you.